Good day and welcome back to another DB Legends video. So in this video we are going to talk about the latest updates that have come to DB Legends. Now of course we didn't have a video last week, but there wasn't really too much to touch up on that Sunday, just a bit of PvP. But here there's some big changes that have been announced in Legends and we'll go through them accordingly. So the first one is Zenkai Awakenings are now free. Well, free in inverted commas. So essentially every future Zenkai Awakening will follow a similar kind of principle to this, whereby you can get 3000 power from a battle gauntlet, which is a kind of raid where you progressively fight a harder version of the unit you want to Zenkai, and missions. Those missions range from using category units, playing PvP, playing co-op, doing daily missions, and they're relatively quite easy. So you can get at least a 4 Zenkai for the unit simply by just doing missions. And this is a good change for Legends, I believe, because obviously one of the biggest things is that Zenkai Awakenings come out, they require stones, they make units very OP, and people always kind of feel like, you know, you're constantly chasing with premium currency. Giving a free way to tackle that issue or to tackle those situations really helps out and makes things a bit more like an easy air on Dokkan. People are just more happy to receive a Zenkai rather than feeling pressured to have that Zenkai to fill out their team. Then with Goku, obviously there's been a change. So for the ultra rare Goku and with the ultra rare Vegeta, they've added 2 new stages to their events, well 3 new stages actually. The one will be for Z power, the other one will be for orbs and soul power, and then the other one is also for a special piece of equipment, and we'll take a look at those stages just now. There's also been a change to the way or the speed at which events unlock for players in Legends, which I think overall is a good change actually. For the most part, I believe new players can have a problem with Legends, the way events open up, and you'll see in my Journey of a Noob series, the rate at which events open up and the rate at which things happen does kind of throw people off kilter. You feel like you have so much to do at all times and it just kind of becomes overwhelming. Then the announcement of bringing back Legends Week and some changes to PvP. Now, the changes to PvP are going to have, or PvP ranking is going to have even more changes. But a big change is that obviously all units in future will now be required to be at level 5000. Now, this is obviously a big change, so for people who struggle to level units, this is obviously a bit of an issue. But they do say here in the footnotes that they are going to make leveling a bit easier. They've also increased the amount of soul types that you get for each soul type. So they've changed it for obviously Battle 1 just to make it balance with everything else, which I think is fine. It's not too much of a big issue. If you are farming souls, I guess it makes life a bit easier. In terms of the new content coming out, there's going to be more feedback and more changes over the course of the next coming weeks. But obviously we've still got some content that's come out. Everyone's preparing for Black Friday in Legends, which is apparently a very big event for them. So there's this Zenkai Awakening for Janemba. You can still buy Zenkai Awakenings from the banner if you really want to. You can spend currency on it if you are lazy, if you don't want to do the content, or if you don't have time and you'd prefer to drop the currency. All perfectly fine and acceptable. They still give you that avenue, so that's why in inverted commas it's now free. You can still have the option to buy it, which I think is fine. If people said, you know, I want to buy a EZA instead of doing it, I mean, you're welcome to do so if you want to. I don't really see a problem with that. And similarly, you can still buy the unit or buy some Z power in the unit for 2000, which I think is a good deal. Instead of summoning for the unit, you can buy Z power in it for a nice chunk of change. We also got the Perfect Cell coming out, the Legends Limited one. I actually got them in the 3000 stones or so, but I've decided not to chase them too much because I want to see what they bring out. I've never had a Black Friday on Legends, and it's apparently a big thing. There's an Acorn event as well, which has come out just, you know, to top up on a little event to pick up some new items. So you can exchange those Acorns for some new items, training items, some chrono crystals, some tickets, nothing too major. Obviously there's the raid for Janemba, which I've been doing. I'm working on it. You can auto raid up to level 70, which is nice. Drop some stones as well, which is great. We're about to finish up our Boo. We're about to Zenkai 7 plus, or sorry, we're about to 7 plus him. I have a few missions left, but those shouldn't be too much of a problem, and I'll be able to wrap those up. So by the next time you see my regen team, he will be 7 plus, which is really great. Obviously, he provides a little bit more of a buff at the end there, and he's at his max power, I guess. He's a really good support. I've been using the regen team a lot, and he's actually been a lot of fun to use during that time period. It's actually a really nice unit. Then we've got these different little events that we've been doing. Nothing too major overall. And you can see that they've moved the Ultra Rare Goku and the Ultra Rare Vegeta to the Special Missions tab. So what we'll do is we'll just try out one mission of each. If you've managed to do the previous missions in these events, you shouldn't really have too much of an issue. The nice thing is it gives 100 Z power a day, I believe, which is obviously great. It's going to help you really eventually press those units up, especially if you don't have a lot of medals. Now I know people who've spent the medals probably are going, well, I've spent the medals, why does no one else spend the medals? Much like in Dokkan, how like they make all the Prime Battle EZAs kind of rely on other Prime Battle EZAs. You need to be very careful about making so many systems dependent on other systems. So for a new player joining, getting the 60,000 rare medals that you need to get the soul boosting power and the Z power for Vegeta and Goku is incredibly daunting when you can maybe get 500 or 600 a day from just doing regular content. And it means you essentially have to play for 3 years, barring, farming them through other methods and other events to get those medals, which is quite intense on a lot of levels for a lot of reasons, but it's obviously quite hectic for new players to see. So you really kind of want to make sure that you essentially give players a different avenue to farm some of those materials. Now, does it annoy people who've done it before? Yes, a little bit, but I always feel like if you did it and you had Goku and Vegeta pretty much maxed out from day one, you've already got the benefit from spending those medals as a veteran player. I mean, from what I understand, real veteran players had nothing really to spend those medals on. So from my end, I don't see the issue. It's much like if in Dokkan they pop those banners from time to time that make you use your friend points. They pop those banners, if they popped something that made me use like 300k of my Bubba points. Like, yes, maybe there's another way for players to get it afterwards that comes out or happens later on. But from my angle, I don't really have too much of an issue with it because I'm never going to do anything otherwise with those bubble points. I'm just going to casually buy some items every now and then and see it drop down a little bit and then eventually go back up and drop down a little bit and go back up higher. And it's the same with friend points. Like, you drop them all and you go, oh no, I don't have any left. And then, by next year you have another million friend points. And yeah, just not really something I'm too concerned about, and I think the same rule should apply here. I think it's good that they're making avenues and ways for players to use it, and it's a nice stamina sink as well for new players, costing 5 stamina each attempt, and you can only do it once per day. So they're still heavily gated, like myself, who didn't do the events for both of them to unlock their missions and get all that bonus Z power and that. You're looking at what, 100 Z power per day, so that's 70 days, that's 2 months still until he's pretty much maxed out. And exactly the same with the soul boost. I don't even know how long that'll take. Look, it's like 1 star, so still a very, very long way to go, even with these events, but it just provides a nice little avenue through which you can at least gain a foothold and feel like you're making progress. Because before I got them and they just weren't anything I was interested in afterwards. I wasn't interested in leveling them, I wasn't interested in gearing them, wasn't interested in doing anything with them. They were kind of just like trophy units that I kept because they look really cool and I used in like occasional story events. But now that you can actually work on them and make them really, really good free-to-play units, I think overall there's much more incentive to kind of run these units together. And I think that also just helps overall in terms of, you know, the whole game. Like, again, it's giving players avenues to work on. New players can unlock these ultra rare units. They need free-to-play units to do so. They have to work on those free-to-play units, then they can unlock the ultra rare units. And I think that's why they redesigned the whole layout of how some of these events unlock, so that players have to, I mean, they changed it. You have to do the Raditz event to a certain level. You have to do the, you know, Vegeta event to a certain level, and you have to do the Nappa event to a certain level to now unlock ultra rare Vegeta. And I think that's a good way to go about it, because players need to understand or work their way through that process. They need to get some semblance of a free-to-play team, realize how to put it together, realize to Zenkai it, realize to soul boost it, realize to Zenkai soul boost it, and then when you now do these events, they at least have some semblance of understanding on the process for the ultra rare units. They've got a team that can tackle on the event. You know, it's difficult when before all the events opened up and then you try and take on an event and, oh, it needs a bonus character, oh, it needs this kind of, you know, category to take it on, oh, it needs this, but it doesn't for the first bit. So you kind of just use whatever team you have and you clear the first two, but then it doesn't work, and then you try making this, and there's just a whole bunch of confusion that would happen. Now you can obviously avoid that. You can make things a little bit easier. So I just think overall, obviously, it's just a lot better. Just the whole manner in which everything works, and just the whole method in which you can now do all these events. And I think that's the change they're looking for. And I think the future changes they make should also be aimed in that direction. Getting new players into a game is very, very good. Dokkan, to a certain extent, does that by giving you all these intro missions on the JP side. And I think, obviously, Legends is trying to construct that, but with it being a PvP game, it does make it super difficult. So giving people some PvE units to reflect that does help. And even things like the Cyberman team, which are relatively easy to get from a free-to-play perspective, but at least make people somewhat competitive, I think are necessary. I think people need to understand that you have to very delicately balance whales being happy with them having a significant advantage in PvP, but also not letting them completely trounce people who just try to put together the best team they can. Like, the difference between 2000% ability bonus and 3800% ability bonus should be significant and should be an advantage, but a player should still feel like they're in with a chance if they are adequately more skilled. Obviously, they'd have to be severely more skilled to overcome the difference, but it's something that you do need to always be aware of when you are doing these sort of things for your game. So yeah, those are the changes that they've had, and I think they're very, very good. I myself am personally quite happy with them. I think that they do push the game, and they are pushing the game into the right direction. It takes a while with Legends, but things like Zenkai being free, things like that all being adjusted are good. There are things that need to happen, and they will make the game, if not more popular, more stable and more well-liked. Since I've joined Legends, I think they've really tried to improve the game. I've been an on and off player, but I find myself returning more and more over time, and I do think they really are trying to improve the game. I think they can cut down on the bloat. I think they can streamline things. I think they can, you know, find ways to make the game more accessible all the time, but they are working on it. They are making it a lot more viable, and I think that's really good. And yeah, just, I mean, if you take a look at the daily missions, they have changed them, and I think they're good changes. I like having daily missions for doing a co-op event, for doing a bonus battle. Not so much, like, it's not necessarily for me something that I think should be necessary, but for example, you know, doing a co-op event I think is good. I think you need to do a co-op event and do a PvP battle in the daily missions. Even if players lose or something, or even if it's just a training PvP battle or whatever, it doesn't have to be ranked PvP, but I do believe that players do need to actively, like, do these missions. And I think it's important that they do these things, because co-op and PvP are kind of the foundations of the fun parts of Legends comparatively to games like Dokkan. In Dokkan, you don't have co-op. in Dokkan you don't have PvP. They're very singular games, and you use a friend lead. You can sometimes ask a friend if you know them in real life to change their friend lead or what builds they're using or things like that. Legends is about actively participating with or against people. You can play against your friends. You can play with your friends. These are important aspects that Legends needs to lean into and make sure players are a part of to a certain extent. Making someone have to do 1400 PvP matches to unlock something isn't cool, because some people really may not enjoy PvP that much. Making them play one game a day isn't that big an issue, and it increases your PvP player pool. It allows people to experience PvP, and if you fix the way your ranking matching system works, or you increase the pool that your ranking match system can pull from, it allows you to have better ranking match systems. The problem is new players don't want to join in PvP because they're going to get trounced, so they don't join PvP. When they don't join PvP, that means there's less other new players to pull from, so that one new player that does actually join in, that does actually play PvP, is just going to have his ass handed to him because of the way the matchmaking system figuratively cannot pull someone else that's new. So it ends up either A, pulling someone that's on a losing streak, which is generally a bot, or it just pulls nothing. So it's very difficult, and that's why I think you do need to have daily missions that promote that. Having new players jump in for at least one game throughout the course of the day at least allows them to possibly pair up with each other. Same with co-op. It's very difficult to find co-op at lower levels because all the experienced players only do them once and then generally do the higher difficulties. If you make new players and medium to mid-level or casual players just do a single co-op mission, they'll probably choose a lower or mid-grade difficulty just to get it done. True, but it means that the pool opens up so the players can actually experience that content. So it's very, very important. But on the PvP side, I have been playing a bit more. You can see I'm rank 15. That was at the time of filming this video. I am actually at like rank 19 now. I'm going to push into the 20s and then aim for the 30s with next season. Slowly getting my way back up to max rank 50 and then obviously pushing on from there depending on what their changes to PvP are. So it's just going to be something we're going to have to see. But I've been enjoying PvP, finally starting to work on some teams, finally starting to work on some actual like competitive teams now. I'm starting to focus on gear now that I've finally cleared up a lot of the free-to-play stuff, the events. I've caught up on the story. So at this point, I'm actively able to focus in on PvP, and I will start filming a dedicated PvP video each week where I just do matches with a different team. Once I have 2 or 3 teams or 4 teams to cycle through, I will do those videos. I just don't want to do them with the same team every time. But that's it from me, guys. Let me know in the comments what you think about all the changes, and as always, stay safe, and until next time, bye.